diagram, it's lucky that I flew into Japan so that I get to enjoy the lunar eclipse as well. For those of you in South Korea that will not be able to see it, for those of you in different parts of Europe and Africa, you can keep in touch with us. We can fill you in by downloading our Sunnycomb application. It's a ever-growing, popular application. All you do is use your smartphone or computer to download the application. We provide you with daily weather updates, as well as reporters and friends from all over the world take photographs of their environment and weather and send it to us here in studio. So do stay tuned and take a look at our video where we explain the Sunnycomb application in detail in a little bit of time. But before that, Jesse will just continue explaining to us some more details. Jesse?
Yes, that's right. I believe that we're going to look at some satellite images of... I believe we will begin to look at some satellite images in a second here. You can see behind me, this is Makuhari area where we have our studios. But basically, generally speaking, over the Pacific Ocean region, the weather has been quite good. The Pacific, North Pacific is calmed down from the winter time, and there's no large-scale storms that you can see. Here's a surface map of the area that the lunar eclipse is going to be affecting. And as you can see, here is the United States here. And then if you go back towards in the center of the ocean here,
yes,
you can see Hawaii. There's a few low pressure systems, but it doesn't look so bad. And then further on the other side of the map, you can see that things don't look so bad either. So when you see these large high pressure areas sitting in the center of the Pacific, it's probably going to indicate that the cloud cover is not going to be so bad and should mean some nice viewing for things just like a solar eclipse. There's a couple of areas that we are worried about. However, first of all, down by the Philippines, you can see that there is a typhoon called Maisak. We're a little bit concerned about that area, and then furthermore, down in Australia, there are some clouds around the most populated areas of New South Wales. But all in all, I think everyone's going to have a good time being able to see the eclipse based on the weather pattern we have today.
Okay, that's wonderful. So for those residing in countries other than the lucky ones that you've mentioned, for those residing in those countries where they're not able to view the lunar eclipse, how will they be able to keep track of it?
Well, the best thing that I could say is to go to anyone that has Sunnycomb or download the Sunnycomb app from Weathernews, and then you can see photographs uploaded from everybody all over the world that is participating in this event.
Okay, wonderful. So like I mentioned before, we have the global phenomenon of the application, Sunnycomb application. All you need to do is to log on, download it, and you can stay tuned. We'll keep you updated throughout the next couple of hours with what's happening with the lunar eclipse. This application is wonderful to use on a day-to-day basis as well. Every morning we provide you with daily weather news updates, as well as special events for anybody who stays tuned, sends in comments, sends in photographs. We have some wonderful prizes up for grabs, so do participate. So to know more about Sunnycomb application, take a look at our video. Welcome back, and for those of you who managed to catch our video, do be sure to download the application and come along for the ride. Mr. Chung, would you tell us a little bit more about why today is so special, why we're having this fantastic lunar eclipse TV special?
So, you know, today is a special day because we have the lunar eclipse. And yes, I'm happy that this eclipse, although it's not very common, but now you have a chance to wear it. But even today is so special that this is one of the shortest lunar eclipse.
All right. And I did a little bit of research before coming, and I realized that one of the most magnificent elements of the total lunar eclipse is its bright red color. In fact, it's been given the nickname in recent years, blood moon, due to the red coloring. Could you tell us a little bit about why it is that specific color?
Yes, so if you have a chance to really look at the moon tonight, if you have a chance, if you have a good weather, then go out and look at the moon, and you will notice that the color of the moon is actually shifting. Now, actually, it's already almost shifting slightly, being darkened, and then it will turn red.
Yes.
But I have to correct you a bit because it's not entirely dark or red, because it depends a lot on different factors. And sometimes we don't know whether it's really really red, or sometimes it's darkish, a bit dark.
All right, so it could be the blood red that it's got the image of, but it also could be quite gray, black, dark, more of a shaded moon.
It could be brown, it could be orange. It depends a lot of factors.
What elements, what factors would affect the coloring? Would it be things like cloud span? For example, in Japan today, we're hoping to get an amazing view of it. However, we do have quite heavy clouds. So is that going to affect the color of the moon?
Well, I will explain in much more details, but just let you know, cloud is not the major factor.
Okay. That's lucky, because I've flown all the way to Japan to enjoy the total lunar eclipse. I'd be quite upset if the cloudy weather were to affect that.
Yeah, no, it's not the major reason.
All right. Is there anything you can tell me about the timing and the gradual process? I know later on we'll discuss the eclipse step by step, but just for those who are tuning in, over what sort of time period are we looking at to reach the total eclipse of the moon?
Okay, so you can see actually the time, as I told you, it's synchronized across the world. So the total eclipse, that part of the, or actually even start from the partial eclipse phases to the total lunar eclipse phases, the timing is exactly the same across the world, but the local time is different.
All right.
So therefore, you see here, for example, in Tokyo, the local time is 8:54.
And I'm going to just stop you there as we get to 7:15. Now, if my research serves me correct, 7:15 right now is where the eclipse is beginning in Tokyo. Am I correct? And what can you tell us about the start?
Well, you can see now the lower part of the moon is already going into the Earth's shadow. Yeah.
Okay, now this is quite amazing to me, because for someone who is not an expert with regards to meteorology, I would assume that eclipse starts from west to east or east to west. Anyway, it would move sideways. However, looking at the moon, it's beginning at the bottom. Why would that be?
It depends. It sometimes depends on the orientation of your viewpoint sometimes.
All right, all right. So 7:15 is a major time. It's the beginning of the lunar eclipse. What time shall we be waiting for to see the total eclipse?
So for time, for example, in Tokyo, then it will be almost 1.5 hours.
All right.
Yes.
So the time obviously varies from
different places.
Luckily, we have cameras situated throughout Japan. We're going to take a look at our first video, which is being sent from Akita area. This is Akita area. I need to spend more time in Japan. All right, so Akita area is one of the first places to experience the beginning of this eclipse.
I would say it's basically everywhere is looking at the same moon. Yes, and here you have, we are now, for example, in Tokyo now, it's already the sunset. After sunset, so the moon is up, so you can see it.
All right, how about we go across to Jesse. Jesse, if we take a look at the first movie, we can see that it's begun. We see the gradual rising of the shadow over the moon. How about different parts of the world? Is there anywhere else in the world that's seeing exactly what we see right now, or are they going to be a little bit behind us? Is there anything you can tell us how this eclipse is related geographically to different parts of the world?
Well, my expertise would be to tell you more specifically about if there's anything blocking your view of the moon, in this case clouds.
Perfect, go ahead.
But when it comes to positioning on which part of the moon, which part of the Earth that we are, I think that's probably not my place to say. But yes, I think that in the Kanto area and over Japan right now, the viewing is very nice. There's some high clouds, but generally skies are clear to have a nice viewing. And so, as you can see in Akita Prefecture, definitely we have this really nice view of the moon. And as you said, the eclipse is starting from the bottom up, which is very interesting too.
Yeah, it is quite interesting. So today in Japan, we're experiencing quite cloudy, windy weather. Is that going to affect our viewing of this lunar eclipse, or is it going to remain quite clear and beautiful as we see right now?
Well, in meteorological terms, lots of times when we're talking about such a short period of time right in front of us, we'll say a nowcast. So really it matters what's happening over the next a few hours or so. Basically it looks like things will be nice in the Kanto region, but if you're in Shikoku or Fukuoka regions, it's probably not going to be a great viewing.
Ah, all right. Well, I think that us three have the luckiest spot to view the lunar eclipse.
That's
We're
right.
going to see over the next period of time it gradually change. If I understand, there is a 5-step process to the lunar eclipse, or am I mistaken? Is there something you can tell us about the step-by-step gradation of the eclipse, Mr. Chung?
So because now the moon is entering the Earth's shadow.
Yes.
So basically, the Earth is blocking the sunlight. So now when the moon passing into the Earth's shadow, so for example, the moon will enter into the different parts of the shadow. So we can imagine that the shadow, I can show you.
Yes, please
in the
do.
diagram.
Take your time.
So we have basically two part of the shadow. So one is a slight shadow, we call it preambula. And the darkest part we call it umbra. So basically it enter into the preambula and then enter the umbra, and then the central one,
Yes.
and then it goes out. So they basically have 5 steps.
All right, and if I understand correctly,
Now we are entering the second part.
second phase, and if I understand correctly, the umbra total eclipse will occur around 9 p.m. Would that be a correct assessment?
So now we are in. Yes, it's correct.
All right, so for those of you that are watching, do not run away. Stay tuned. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to continue to view the gradation of this beautiful lunar eclipse. Do stay tuned until 9 p.m. where we can show you an entire lunar eclipse. So see you shortly. Welcome back to our excellently, very exciting Lunar Eclipse TV special. As you can see on your screen, we have a beautiful image sent to us from Akita in Japan. It's north of Japan, not so cloudy, quite clear, so we've managed to get a clear view of that. We were just talking before the break at exactly 7:15 p.m. the lunar eclipse began. And quite interesting to me is that it didn't go from side to side. It began from the bottom. As time progresses, we'll see that the shadow will slowly rise. However, it's best to ask Mr. Chung to please explain the gradation, the gradual step-by-step of the lunar eclipse that we can all look forward to viewing tonight.
Well, actually, I think your question is related, for example, why it's not start from the bottom. It really depends on the orientation of the moon, where it's come from. If the moon is high in the zenith at the top,
yes,
then actually it will move from side to side. But because the moon has just come out, so it's from bottom to up. But anyway.
All right.
Okay. So so maybe we can show a diagram. So again, maybe we can see this one.
Yes.
So first, we have to understand why we have a total lunar eclipse. And so basically, the idea is we have sometimes every month that the moon, the earth, and the sun basically is aligned in a straight line almost.
Yes.
So we have full moon every month.
Yes.
But sometimes because the earth and it orbits around the sun and the moon orbits around the earth, the orbital plane is slightly inclined. So therefore, they are not fully in a really straight line. Sometimes it's up a bit, sometimes it's down a bit.
Yes.
So, but some chance that you might have time that they are really in a straight line and the Earth will block the sun.
All right.
If you really watch them from the viewpoint of the moon, then the Earth will block the sun and they will create a shadow. The Earth will create a shadow. So normally every month, the sun just shines on the moon, and the full moon is so bright that you can see a lot of sunlight reflected, and therefore we can see the full moon.
Okay.
But during the lunar eclipse, because the Earth blocked out the sun, so then the moon entered the Earth's shadow, and therefore it's the eclipse.
All right.
And that's it.
Sorry to sound a little bit repetitive. However, if you take a look at our chatting group, we have Mr. N. Camo, who has mentioned red color. So just like myself, many people believe that a total eclipse results in a fully red, blood-colored moon. Can you tell us a little bit about the coloring?
Well, I think many people will just for the total eclipse is dark, complete dark.
Okay.
But if you know that it's because actually the Earth have an atmosphere.
Yes.
So when the sunlight passes through the atmosphere, then the sunlight is scattered. We have a scientific term that the sunlight is scattered by the atmosphere, the particles. So only the red part of the light. So actually, a light can be separated into rainbow color, and the red part of the light is more easiest to stay, and we see those red color. Just like that, because just like we saw the sunset.
Yes.
It's red in color, so it's basically the same.
So like our sunrise and our sunset, the eclipse of the moon also sometimes allows for some coloring to be
Yes, just like
apparent.
because the sunset and sunrise, the sun goes through a very dense layer of atmosphere.
All
so
right.
it turns red.
All right.
And it's the same when now the air,
Okay.
when the light passes through it.
And it's my understanding that certain weather conditions can affect how clear one is able to view the moon or not. Luckily today in Japan we have excellent visibility. However, in certain countries, due to the weather conditions, many of you will not be able to view the moon. Let's cross over to Jessie, who's going to tell us a little bit about how weather conditions and other factors that might affect the clarity of this evening's lunar eclipse. Jessie, over to you.
Yes, that's right. Basically, we're looking at the big picture here, and you can see that conditions are not so bad for viewing anything outside this time of year. Basically, high pressure is dominating most of the Pacific Ocean, and you have these small little low pressure areas here, and areas where people aren't really staying, except for people sailing trans-Pacific. I think what we want to draw your attention with here is that you can see these bars, this red bar and then the blue bar behind. This is symbolizing where the full solar eclipse takes place and where the partial solar lunar eclipse takes place. Now, if you are sitting on the far west coast of California, you can see that the lunar eclipse will be perfectly 100% full. However, if you're in, for example, Houston, Texas, or Chicago, it will only be partial. I guess the jackpot is if you're sitting in Hawaii, which is actually quite nice and right in the bullseye. Here's the latest satellite photograph of the United States, and you can see that basically there is some area of clouds going up this way towards the southeastern portions of the southeast United States. This is associated with a frontal boundary that's pushing off the coast and going into the Atlantic Ocean. So anywhere underneath these clouds, you're not going to have any luck seeing a solar eclipse. However, this area up here looks like it's actually clouds, but this is actually snow cover and cold weather. So this is actually probably completely clear in this area. It's so the infrared satellite is picking up on very cold temperatures. And you can also see the snow here. Okay, and then further, we have a picture of Hawaii here, and you can see that this is a rather rough satellite photo, but you can see that that Hawaii and all the smaller islands are actually in good shape to see the lunar eclipse as well. Okay. Okay, and then finally, we have a little bit more action down here in this area here. This is where most of the people in Australia are living, New South Wales and Victoria. Unfortunately, we have this large sort of disturbed area of weather that's been pushing right along the sides of the coast. Unfortunately, this is where most of the people in Australia live, so I think the chances of a lunar eclipse probably are going to be very low in this area. Then you see this nice area of clear region in the center of Australia, but this is probably not many people are living there, so it's probably not going to have a big effect on viewership. Okay. Okay. Finally, you can see that this is where we are. You can see we have Japan and Honshu here, and then the Sea of Japan, and you have a large kind of area here, and this is basically a frontal boundary that's pushing from Korea over to Japan, and this is right now at this moment is causing South Korea to be almost completely in the black when it comes to viewing the lunar eclipse. This is pushing pretty quickly to the east, so we think that the far western portions of Japan, for example, Kyushu and probably areas like Hiroshima, Shikoku are probably going to get clouded over soon. So if you want to see the lunar eclipse, probably the time to see it is now. If you happen to live in Kanto region, I think you're going to be fine for the entire portion of the lunar eclipse. These clouds are going to keep out probably until 11 or 12 p.m. around midnight.
Wow, so it seems that in many different parts of the world, the clouds seem to be a problem. For those of you participating in our Sunnycomb chat, we see that it's John Francis Garapan says it's cloudy in the Philippines. That's why you need to stay tuned to our show. Before we talk more about the step-by-step mechanics of the lunar eclipse with Mr. Chung, let me tell you one more time about our Sunnycomb application. You can log on, keep in touch with us through our application. We send you daily weather reports. You also get to catch our show live, where the three of us will carry you through tonight's special lunar eclipse, so please do stay tuned. For those of you who participate on our Sunnycomb chat room, or by sending us photographs of where you might be in the world to show us a little bit about your environment and the weather, we have some fantastic Sunnycomb bandana prizes, which we will be giving out to all of you. Yes, every single one of you that participates in our show tonight. So without further ado, let's get to the nitty-gritty of tonight's mechanics of the lunar eclipse. Mr. Chung, if you could please explain the 5-step process as I understand it to be.
Okay, so if I mentioned that, so now the moon is entering the Earth's shadow.
Yes.
So basically, usually the people will ignore 2 more parts. Actually, if we really count, there will be 7 steps.
7 steps?
But if you really count, because people will ignore that, because it's not easy to notice.
All right.
So we call it the preumbra eclipse. So it's before the total eclipse. It's even before the partial part.
Oh.
So that one will be, we have 7-step detail. But if we say, for example, we just start at 15 minutes ago, that one is, usually it's the first step. Then we will say is when it enter the first contact. So the first contact, it's basically the moon touch the major part. Now you see the red.
Yes.
In the red. That one is the Earth shadow, the major Earth shadow.
All right, so that red section is basically the hot zone. From the moment the moon touches that zone,
yes,
it becomes visible.
Yes.
The eclipse.
So that's why it's 15 minutes ago. That's the first part when the moon touched that.
Was that at 7:15 when we announced the start of the lunar eclipse?
Right, correct.
All right.
And then it takes about 1.5 hours, 1 hour and more, then it will be completely enter that part.
All right, I have a time for 8:54 and I have a time for 9 p.m. So I assume that's the time you're talking about, where we're going to have total. 8:54 p.m.
It marks the total eclipse.
All right, so everybody do stay tuned until 8:54 p.m.
But I would say now it's still very interesting. You see part of the moon, you see more and more part of the moon is actually being covered now.
All
already.
right.
You see that.
Okay.
And when it being more, then you even it's not in the total eclipse, but even before the total eclipse phases, you can already still see some tiny reddish color.
All
on the moon.
right.
Yeah, and then the central part will be, after the central part, it will leaves the Earth shadow, and then it will mark the end of the total eclipse. And
All
that
right.
one, it's 9 and 8 minutes.
Yes.
8 minutes past 9.
And if I understand correctly, according to my notes, at 10:45 p.m. will be the end
Yes.
of the entire total eclipse
The
process.
partial eclipse part, but then there's still that's the most people will ignore the penumbra eclipse, so that one will be the last one. So
Our
it's
show
quite
also
long.
finishes before then.
So, but it's okay. So most people will concentrate on the total eclipse part,
All
but
right.
that part is only lasts about 8 minutes. So
Okay.
it's a bit short, but you can still enjoy the partial part because you will see you will see the reddish color,
Yes.
and also probably you will notice some slightly different color. I will mention it later.
Okay, all right. So, like myself, Jesse confused a little bit the solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse. We know that they're both interconnected, related, if I understand correctly, about 2 weeks apart. So, could you tell us a little bit about how the solar eclipse feeds into the lunar eclipse and vice versa, just off the top of your head? For those of you out there like myself that are not too familiar with lunar eclipses, how are they connected? Because if I recall correctly, 2 weeks earlier we had a solar eclipse.
Yes, 2 weeks ago there was a total solar eclipse that happened in the northern part, like the North Pole, around North Pole, near
right.
Denmark and something. So but the major difference between a total solar eclipse and a total lunar eclipse at the top is the sun. The path is very different. So,
All
for
right.
example, for a total solar eclipse, you can only see it at a very narrow band of area. So
Okay.
it's only not many people can see the total part of the eclipse.
All right.
But for lunar eclipse, most of the people are at the dark side, at the night side of the Earth. They can see it.
All right.
So it's very different. But if you, in terms, why they are connected together in the timing, like in 2 weeks interval, because that I mentioned to you, because the total solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse, they are happening because the Earth, Sun, and the Moon, they align in straight line.
All right.
And 2 weeks ago, they are almost at the same position.
All right.
But after months, the Earth and the Moon is inclined again.
Okay.
So you cannot see it.
Okay, and you mentioned earlier that you would tell us a little bit more about the coloring of the moon. Perhaps it's not only the blood moon, the red color. Is there more that you can tell us about the coloring?
Yes. So if you remember why the moons turn red, the major reason is the sunlight passes through a dense layer of the atmosphere.
All right.
And then it turns red. So it's the same mechanism as we see the sunset and sunrise in red color. So if you imagine that if there's no atmosphere, then during the total eclipse part, the moon will completely turn darkness.
Okay.
So that means if we have a diagram here. So many people notice that during a volcanic eruptions, then after during the total lunar eclipse, the moon will basically turn green and even dark. So the major reason is that the dust and the volcanic eruptions block out the atmosphere, and then it stops the sunlight. So therefore, we have a slightly divide of 5 degrees of the color of the moon to basically describe the situation of the atmosphere, how many dusts are there.
Oh, all right. Okay. So for those of you who are watching our TV show live, we hope that by now you're well aware of our Sunnycomb application. For those of you who are unfamiliar, all you need to do is download the application. You can join in the fun by sending in any questions or comments you might have. Wherever you might be in the world, we hope to receive photographs of your weather and environment. And for every single participant, we have bandana gifts to give you, so please do stay tuned. To tell you a little bit more about Sunnycomb application, take a look at the video that will follow shortly. Cue. Welcome back. We're reporting to you live from Tokyo in Japan. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. We've got around 500 viewers that are currently participating with us in the chat room on our Sunnycomb application. Do remember, any of you who log in and stay tuned can receive a free Sunnycomb bandana with the beautiful color of our famous Japanese cherry blossom. So please do send us any comments, any questions you might have. We're going to be taking a look at the chat room throughout the show. We have Jesse coming up in about 5 minutes. He's going to give us a refresh on any global weather as the weather tends to change minute by minute. We look forward to receiving many weather questions from you, our viewers, in the chatting room. I understand that we have a couple of reporters from different parts of Japan that have managed to take wonderful photographs of the gradation, the gradual movement of the lunar eclipse. In a moment, we're going to take a look at those photos. However, let's hear from Mr. Chung first how one could possibly take a clear photo of a lunar eclipse. I should imagine it to be quite difficult as it is a night sky and it's continually changing and moving. Could you tell us a little bit about how one would take a good caption of this phenomenon?
So if you have a camera, then I think the first thing is you probably need to set a focus. And if you have a zoom lens, then you set it at probably infinity, but sometimes different cameras, they have slightly different at the focus point. So you probably have to set it to manual mode and then slightly adjust the focal length until you see the moon is clear.
Oh.
And the second thing is probably about exposure time of the photo. So if you, for example, now is still in the partial eclipse phases, it's still bright, so you could take a short exposure. But if you want to see some slight coloring, for example, at this point, for example, now currently you see almost half the moon is being entered in the shadow. But you can, if you slightly increase the exposure time of your photo, then you could probably, although the upper part of the moon is maybe overexposed, but you could slightly see the reddish color of the shadow of the moon.
All right, so with that advice at hand, for the past hour or so, we've been looking at an image taken from Akita in the north of Japan. We have a few more reports to show you. So let's take a look at the first one sent from Hokkaido, which is also in the north of Japan. I wonder how people living there are viewing this eclipse. Okay.
It's good. It's very good.
From a photographer's perspective, as you seem to know a lot about it, it seems to be a little bit brighter, a little bit clearer.
Yeah, it's just entered the shadow, so it's very nice.
Okay, and also if we compare it to what we were looking at 7:15 p.m., the shadow definitely has risen almost to a quarter. Would I be correct in assuming around a quarter?
Yeah, maybe. Slightly, 20% something.
Okay, so that's two images that we've received from the north areas in Japan. I understand perhaps the north is not experiencing as much clouds as different parts of the world. Let's take a look at the second report. It is sent from Yamakata, which is also in the north. Okay.
It looks nice, but probably if you have a tripod of taking the camera, taking the photo, to stabilize your camera on the tripod might be even a better result.
All right. Yes, if we take a look at the moon, we can see that the circumference of it, it's not a clear-cut bright light, but rather seems to be quite blurry. Would that be the moon itself, or would that be the photographer's doing?
So as I mentioned, it's better to, for example, set the focus at using manual mode. It will be much better.
All right, and let's take a look at our next one, sent to us from central Japan, Ishikawa. Ishikawa, which is in the center of Japan. Oh, that's quite beautiful. It has a halo, a golden halo surrounding the moon, which is quite different from the images we viewed up until now.
So I think it's probably due to the lens, some kind of reflection
Oh, really? I was hoping that's the moon, the beauty of the moon. All right, and we can see that the shadow, it's not quite clear as to where it ends. As time passes, it seems to be such a gradation.
Yeah. It's not a clear edge sometimes.
Right, it's not clear cut, it's very gradual. The top of the moon seems to be extremely bright and fiery, whereas if we look at the center of it, it's got a pinkish reddish glow. How would one explain that?
I think it's still because due to the color of the sunlight. The sunlight is sometimes not as slightly yellow.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can see basically it's the sunlight. Yeah.
All right, so we've taken a look at a couple of photographs sent from the north. We've now looked at one from the center of Japan. Let's move down south to Okinawa and take a look at the report sent to us from you, our viewer, from Okinawa. Oh, incredibly different.
Well, this is nice. Sometimes when you do photography, you have a landscape to side by side along with the moon. That would be very nice.
Honestly, this one is quite magnificent in that it seems to have been taken from a distance, slightly further zoomed out, so we get to see not only the brightness of the moon, but also the clouds, and below that,
that's
land?
the building. Yeah, I think that's the building. That's the building. Yeah.
So Jesse, taking a look at our photographs, we have some from the north, one from the center of Japan, and the last one from the south. What do you think of them?
Well, I think that this is what I would expect looking at the satellite photographs. In the northeast portions of Japan, the further north you go up to Tohoku and Hokkaido, the conditions look really good. The center part of Japan, high clouds are starting to filter in slowly. And then in the back, the west side of Japan, near Kyushu and Fukuoka, those regions, the weather, the clouds are moving in from Korea and making things a little unstable when it comes to trying to get a good view.
Oh, I do apologize for that. I must have brought some of the cloudy weather with me from Korea.
It's okay, we forgive you this time. So what we are showing in front of on the screen now is the other side of the Pacific Rim, which is the United States. And you can see that there's two bars here. First of all, this blue bar, and then a red bar over here on the other side of the screen. And what this represents is this is the limit of seeing a partial eclipse. So basically, everywhere in the central time zone, spanning from Florida all the way over to about New Mexico, Arizona, and going up through the Rocky Mountains, you're going to see a little bit of the lunar eclipse. I keep saying solar instead of lunar, sorry. But you're not going to have the full lunar eclipse as much as you will see in other parts of the Pacific. When it comes to cloud cover, actually things look good for the most part. There are a couple of little places, there's some thunderstorms associated with a front that's going up towards the northwest United States here. And then you have some thunderstorms popping up right along the edge of the Occidental Sierra Madres here. So there's going to be you probably don't even want to be outside if those thunderstorms are strong enough. But anyway, in the Central Plains, you can see because of this image is showing some snow cover, but actually there's not many clouds in the central portions of the United States. So if you're in Nebraska and you look up and you're looking for the moon, you should have no problem whatsoever seeing a very nice lunar eclipse.
Wonderful. So we've talked a little bit about the global weather. You've mentioned some parts of the world where many people are able to view the lunar eclipse quite clearly, whereas others seem to be overshadowed by clouds. If you could travel to one particular spot in the world, apart from our studio, to view the lunar eclipse, where would you go and why?
I think I would probably choose a remote island somewhere in the center of the Pacific because not only is the weather good to view a lunar eclipse, there is going to be not much anthropogenic ambient light to get in the way of the viewing. I'd say Easter Island would be a good place to go in the east central Pacific. Maybe Micronesia. That would be another good place that I'd check out. It's somewhere I always wanted to go anyway, so why not go during a lunar eclipse?
All right. So it sounds like the islands would be a hotspot of a destination to view the moon. Could that be anything to do with being less developed and having less pollution and a clearer sky?
Yes, absolutely. Right now, as we showed, well, here's an example here. You can see that Hawaii is here, and the cloud cover is almost zero, except for the very far western islands here. So if you're in Hawaii, it's going to look good. I think unless there's a volcanic eruption that happens suddenly, we're not expecting any, so don't worry. But the one thing I would be interested in more than in Hawaii is to go somewhere where there's not so much anthropogenic light source. So this is a very widely built up area. But if you would go to a more remote location where there's not man-made lights shining during the night, you're going to have a much better view of the moon in one of those places.
Wonderful. And if we take a look at our chatting screen, Jugophone says, the American guy again, please. So you have a fan. The American guy will be back shortly to talk a little bit more about global satellite photographs. Don't be shy. If you have any questions regarding the weather, please do let us know and we can pass it along to Jesse, our American guy. If we take a look at the chatting room, Nkamo says, thank you for the explanation on the coloring. Mr. Chong has done a fantastic job of explaining the mechanics of the lunar moon, as well as coloring with regards to the blood red color, the gray, the shadows. However, I do recall hearing at times the moon can also have a blue-like halo surrounding it. Would you tell us a little bit more about the coloring of the moon throughout the lunar eclipse?
Yes, this is a very interesting phenomena. So we thought that the moon is bloody red, as you mentioned, but because of recent advance of the camera, so many people could take very good photos of the moon. Even now, if you do, please do it now. So you could actually see that there's a special, we call it Turkish fringe around the Earth shadow. So, sorry, that's another diagram.
So let's take a look at the photo of our moon with a blue halo, a slightly turquoise green blue halo. So as we see by the current photo, there's the gradation of reds, which is a common belief. I myself too thought much about the blood moon. If we take a look at the next photo, we see that there is in fact a turquoise-like fringe. What is this? So
actually, our Earth's atmosphere is composed of many elements. So one of the elements is ozone. And ozone actually will absorb the blue part of the color sometimes. So when the sunlight passes through the Earth's atmosphere, the ozone will actually absorb the red part. So therefore, we see actually, you see here, there's the Earth shadow. Basically, you see the Earth shadow surrounding this. The ozone will absorb the red color, and that's why it leaves a blue fringe around. So this is that's what we call a Turkish fringe. And if you do the photography, as I told you earlier, if you do a slightly longer exposure, you could probably photograph this special color.
Wow.
So do send us the photos.
Yes, it would be wonderful for anybody in the world who takes a look at the lunar eclipse tonight and sees a blue fringe surrounding it. If you could capture that photograph and send it into our studio, we can discuss it a little bit more. Let's take another look at our chatting center. Sandra Whitley says, here in the U.S. Charleston, WV, the clouds are covering the moon. I'm happy that I can watch it here. Well, thank you for tuning in. You have won yourself a wonderful bandana, as well as everybody else who's participating in the chat room. Let's cross over to Jesse, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the weather. We're going to take a look at some satellites, but do stay tuned. Do keep chit-chatting with us, take photographs and send it in to us, and you can win for yourself a banner. So over to you, Jesse.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd be happy to look at a couple of the other areas that will have the lunar eclipse. Here's the blue around the moon, which I'm not an expert on, but Anyways, I think. Oh, okay. Now this is something that I understand.
It's okay. The blue is pretty, so we got
Okay.
to see a second shot of it.
Okay.
And a reminder to our viewers to try to take a photo and send it in to us. So
Okay.
thank you for that. Over to you, Jesse.
Sure. Okay. Now I'm standing over Australia. So I think that the area that people are most interested in is this area coming down here. So New South Wales down towards Melbourne area. This is where most of the people are living in Australia. And this is where we're supposed to have the best coverage to see the lunar eclipse. However, you can see that there's this wide band of scattered convective clouds going from up near the Gulf of Carpentaria all the way down towards Tasman Sea. Unfortunately, this is going to mean that the viewing of the lunar eclipse is not going to be so good for most of the people that are living in Australia. However, if you do happen to live somewhere on the other side of the continent, you can see right in here there's a deep dark color, and this represents not only no clouds, but also it's extremely hot in central Australia. So this is something that you would expect to see this time of year. And then moving towards the west side of Australia, you can see some other kind of seasonal clouds. So if you're in Perth, or if you're swimming or snorkeling in Shark Bay, unfortunately, I don't think that you're going to have much of a chance to view the lunar eclipse tonight. However, I would say if you do happen to be in Alice Springs over the night, congratulations, you're going to have one of the nicest shots of the lunar eclipse around.
So for those of you who are not residing in the previously mentioned countries, thank goodness you're tuning into our show where we're going to give you constant live updates throughout the total lunar eclipse. We'll be back shortly, but just before the break, let me remind you to become a part of our team. Download the Sunnycomb application. Please do take a photo of wherever you might be in the world of the moon as you see it. Send it in to us so we can talk a little bit more about that. For anybody who participates, you're going to win yourself a beautiful bandana. Quite unique. It reminds me of the Japanese cherry blossom. So we'll take a short break. When we come back, please, we'll take another look at the chatting room. See you soon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Tonight we have a really special live TV show. We're broadcasting to you all over the world from here in Tokyo, Japan. As you can see, the live Akita shot. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of clouds coming across. So for now, we can see quite a clear shot of our lunar eclipse. However, we're praying that by the time, is it 8:45 around then, it will be the total lunar eclipse. We're hoping that there won't be too many clouds around so that we can present you all over the world with a perfect shot. Until then, let's take a look at some of the other photographs that have been taken by you, our wonderful viewers from here in Japan. We have a few from Japan. We have one coming up from Taiwan, so do stay tuned. Let's take a look. The first photograph is from Niigata which is central west of Japan. It was taken at 7:58 p.m. And as you can see, if we compare it to some of the earlier photographs, it certainly is a lot darker.
Yes, the cover more. Yes.
Yes. So would you explain to us a little bit about what's happening? We have heard about the mechanics of the lunar eclipse, but it's quite interesting to see it through visuals.
Yes, so now this photo is taken about when the moon is partially, maybe half, almost into the Earth shadow. So it's really nice.
Okay, it's quite beautiful. Let's take a look at the next one from Yamagata, which is in the northwest of Japan. Thank you for sending the photograph. It was taken 1 minute before 8 p.m., so exactly 21 minutes ago. Wow, it certainly does seem as time goes by that the moon is almost being cut in half.
Yes, right. Again, it's almost half. Yeah, it's very nice. But I would suggest you, if you could do slightly overexposed, and we could see more colors of the moon.
That also might be how we would see a slight bright halo surrounding it, as you mentioned earlier.
The blue fringe. Yeah.
Yes, I'm waiting in anticipation for somebody to send a photograph of our wonderful eclipse with a turquoise fringe. So if you happen to capture that, please do send it in to us. I will let you know again later about our Sunnycomb application. Let's move along to the next photograph, which is sent from Hokkaido in the northwest, if I understand correctly, taken at 7:57 p.m. Really a lot brighter than the previous two.
Yes.
How would this be explained?
We still need more brighter.
Overexposure is what he's getting at.
Yes, but it's a bit dark.
It's certainly dark at the bottom. And again, for somebody like me who has not seen a lunar eclipse, it's quite amazing that it's developing from the bottom upwards. I would ordinarily assume that it would be sideways.
It depends on the orientation and where you locate. If you, for example, if you locate it somewhere else, then the moon is high up, then it's not from the bottom.
Okay, so geography certainly plays a very important role, as well as the orientation of the moon.
Right.
All right, the next photograph, the last one for now, sent from Japan, is from Fukushima, northeast, just down there, taken at 7:57 p.m. Wow, it's quite beautiful. The way that they've captured this photo, the moon seems to be higher and almost at the bottom of the photo. Is that city we're seeing?
Yeah.
Some lights?
Maybe.
Maybe. So this one seems to be have been taken from further back. Quite beautiful. What's your favorite so far? First, second, third, or fourth?
I will probably pick the earlier ones.
Okay. I happen to think the third one was quite beautiful in that it seemed to be a lot brighter, whether that's camera work or just somebody's geographical location. I'm not quite sure, but do keep those photos coming and we'll chat with you about them throughout the show. We're going to take a look at the last photograph for now. This is sent from your neighbor, from Taiwan. Ni hao. I lived in Taiwan for 1 year, so I'm quite familiar with that country. It's a beautiful country to live in. And if you take a look at that photograph, we definitely get a different view. We don't see as much shading, as much eclipse. Essentially, it seems to be quite full at this particular moment.
So it may be taken, because it's also, well, actually, if you compare the brightness of the eclipse part and the ordinary part, actually it's very bright. It's still very bright. So maybe it's too bright that you can't see the eclipse part.
All right. So it's quite magical that we're all viewing the same moon and the same gradation of tonight's lunar eclipse from the same spot at the same time. However, depending on where you might reside in the world, you will view it at different times.
Because local time.
Yes, we'll be taking time zones into consideration. So how about, Mr. Chung, we take a look at time zones from different parts of the world. We have a time zone chart. So wherever you might be in the world, take a look at the chart and we're going to let you know when your hotspot of a time will be happening. Because as we discussed earlier, the lunar eclipse is gradual. However, the total eclipse, the time is quite short. Did you say it was 8 minutes?
Yes, it's only 8 minutes.
All right, so for wherever you might be in the world, we're going to let you know what your particular time zone is and when those special 8 minutes are. It's a pretty fast eclipse, if
Yes,
I'm not
this one is really
mistaken.
short.
Yeah.
Yes, so we could actually look at the time.
All right. Do we have a time chart? For different countries, different parts of the world. It's really interesting to me. If you take a look, wow, we've got to Singapore, Hong Kong, Honolulu,
We have
Los
Manila,
Angeles,
Taipei, Sydney.
Seoul, where I came from.
So it depends, as I told you, it depends on your geographical location. Basically, it's happening at the same time, so everywhere on Earth, as long as you are staying at the night side of the Earth, then you are able to look at the moon. And then it depends on the time zone. It
Yes.
depends on local time zone. So therefore, it wheels at different local time.
All right, so could we have the time zone chart back, and we will highlight a couple of
different
spots
place?
forever where you might be in the world. We're going to let you know what time to look out
Yes.
for. So for Jakarta, 6:54 p.m. to 7:06 p.m. That's your hot time. So do stay glued to your televisions. We'll keep you informed and take a look out your
It's
window.
only about 30 minutes.
Yeah, not long to go.
Yeah.
Any particular place that you might like to mention,
Well,
Mr. Tong?
Hong Kong. I come from Hong Kong.
So why don't you tell our viewers in Hong Kong what to look out for?
So if you stay in Hong Kong, the time will be 7:54. Yeah, and look at the east direction. So the direction, yeah, just like as you have asked me beforehand, the direction depends again on whether the local location of where is the moon. So
yes.
it just depends on that.
That does make sense. So we've got our E for east, and then we've
Yeah.
got southeast, northeast, southwest, and west. So
Yes.
wherever you might be located on the globe, that's the direction from where your eclipse is starting and moving across. So for my friends in Seoul, do be sure to take a walk outside. Hopefully it's not too cloudy at 8:54 p.m. and you have a hot time from 9 until 9:06, and I've just heard that it's raining in Seoul. 그래서 우산 좀 챙기고 나가세요. Prepare your umbrella and try to capture the moon and send us a photograph, please. We should mention some parts of America, considering
if
we
you're
have
in
Jessie in the studio.
If you are in Vancouver or Los Angeles, maybe you are staying very late now.
Okay. Jessie, are you able to see the screen?
Yes. I'm looking at the timetable now, and
All right.
now I was looking at the timetable, but they took it away from me. But I think what the important thing is that we can show a satellite map
All
to
right.
give an idea of exactly where people will be able to see the eclipse.
Perfect.
First of all, and then secondly, what the cloud cover is like. So you can see that you have first of all the red bar that's here, and this everything to the right on my side of this bar is going to have a full eclipse. And then if you go further on to this next bar here, between these two bars, between the red and the blue green bar, red and the blue bars is a partial eclipse of the moon. So there was people saying that there was a problem with seeing the eclipse in Korea. And as you can see, I am holding Korea right here, and the entire South Korea peninsula is covered by clouds. So unfortunately, this is probably the second worst place you can be if you wanted to look at the lunar eclipse tonight.
Pretty smart of me to come on over to Japan.
You made the right choice. There's no doubt about it. You made the right choice. So, but it's pretty isolated to that area, though. If you go just a little bit south, probably even as soon as you get to Jeju Island, you're going to find that the skies are clearing out. And then if you go down towards Taiwan, it looks fine. The Ryukyu Islands are clear. Okinawa looks good. Yeah, if South Korea and probably right around Shanghai area, you can see here Shanghai doesn't look so good. There's a little bit of low clouds. It's kind of unorganized, so you might have a couple of spots where you're able to see the eclipse for a little while, but by and large, it's probably not a great place to view it.
Okay, so it's wonderful. We've discussed global weather quite a lot up until this point. Jesse's done an excellent job of highlighting some of our Asian weather. We have satellites positioned to view 2 different parts of Asia. He's just discussed Japan, Korea, and China. How about we take a look at southern East Asia? Let us know what's happening with the weather in that part of the world.
Sure, absolutely. Now, I did say that South Korea was the second worst place.
Yes.
I think the worst place would probably be the Philippines, especially around the northern islands, around Manila. You can see that there we have this typhoon Maisak, which is just about to make landfall on the Philippines. So we don't want to make too much light of that. It's a serious situation for the Philippine population of that area. Certainly, please do not be trying to look for the lunar eclipse. In this circumstance, please be somewhere secure and with your loved ones, and somewhere where you're not going to be close to any windows. Because this, at least a few days ago, was an extremely powerful typhoon with a well-defined eye. And we had, here in the Weather Center, had lots of concerns. We were really worried about this storm. So Philippines have had a history of some rough weather due to typhoons over the past few years. So we don't want to have another experience like that.
All right, would that be the typhoon Maisak that you're referring to?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so it's just about to make landfall, and it's starting to weaken now. Like I said, 2 days ago, it was quite a sight to behold. A very classic symmetrical storm with a really well-defined eye. It's kind of lost those characteristics now, but it's still a dangerous storm. If you look at other portions of this area, you can see down in Indonesia, these are all scattered thunderstorms that will pop up in the late afternoon, early evening. They will die down, but I don't know if they're going to die down fast enough to see the lunar eclipse in that area. And then further on in Borneo, you can see it actually looks quite nice if you happen to be in Borneo at this time. I hope you're enjoying yourself. There probably isn't a lot of lights to bother you, so this would be a good place to see the eclipse. And then finally down here you have Singapore in this area here. And Singapore looks like there's a couple of thunderstorms in the area. So if anyone's watching the program and you're in Singapore, how about giving us a report? It looks a little bit iffy. There'll be this area right down here. Are there clouds in the area, or are you okay? That's the way Singapore always is, though. In the times that I've been down there, around 8 p.m. there's a thunderstorm, and then it's gone, and the rest of the night's fine. So anyway, and also finally, this area here, Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, in southern China, it looks fine for viewing.
All right. So thank you for that update. So for our viewers that are currently residing in Asia, thanks to Jesse, you now know which countries will have great visibility, which countries will not, and which countries have quite dangerous weather occurring at the moment. So don't be unsafe. Don't attempt to go out to view the lunar eclipse if you're in rainy, windy, dangerous conditions. Just stay tuned to our show and we'll continue with our live updates. We have our Sunnycomb application, which I've told you about a few times. All you need to do is download it. Please keep up with the comments, the questions. For anybody who participates, you'll be given a beautiful bandana, the color of our Japanese cherry blossoms. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to address some of the exciting comments that we have coming in at quite a pace from you, our viewers. So do stay tuned. Welcome back. We're reporting to you live from our studio here in Tokyo, Japan, where we seem to have almost perfect weather conditions in the north of Japan. As you can see, we have a visual from Akita in Japan. The coloring of the moon has changed quite dramatically. What can you tell us about that, Mr. Chung?
So it's very nice. So if you really look at the video footage now, so the moon is almost covered entirely. It's almost going to the Earth's shadow. But if you really if you look here, the image, apart from the overexposed part, slightly between the bottom reddish part and the slightly exposed part, in the between, you could actually notice slightly different in color. It's actually what I told you before, the Turkish fringe. It's the slightly blue-green color that in between, because it's absorbed by the ozone, that the light turns. It's a little bit blue-red in this color. So it's really nice, interesting.
You have magic eyes, because if I were to look at that, I would not say that that is turquoise.
Not exactly, it's slightly red. Yeah.
However, there is a slightly light blue tinge between the red and then the very bright shine. So, like the red color, there are different levels and different degrees.
It should be also.
That would be the same for the turquoise fringe. Okay. Is there a chance that with some time that would get a little bit deeper in color?
Well, I think it's almost the same throughout the whole night will be.
All right. So for those of you who have just tuned into our show, your timing is quite good. Do stay tuned. We're going to keep you posted with some reports sent to us, photographs taken by you, our viewers, currently residing in Japan and other parts of the world. We have the next step in our gradation of the total lunar eclipse coming up at 8:54 p.m. So don't go anywhere. Until then, let's take a look at some of the reports sent from you to us in studio. I understand we have another one from the north of Japan, Akita? Okay, our live visual that we've been watching constantly is from the same area. However, if you take a look at this new photograph taken at 8:34 p.m., it is quite different. So
the main difference, I think, it's the exposure you took the photo. So if you took much long exposure, then you will see the darkest part of the moon as well. Okay. So there will slight color. It's not in black, but you will see the red color.
All right. And the next photograph we have from the northeast of Japan, Fukushima, taken at 8:35. Oh, very dark.
Yeah, again, if you take long exposure, it will be very nice.
Okay. However, it's quite beautiful to see as the time progresses how the moon is just overcome
it's going to disappear.
Eclipse and shadow. And now we have just a slice of light at the top, and soon that will too be gone.
Yes, so it's only less than 10 minutes, almost 10 minutes.
So for those of you who are thinking of going somewhere, do not. Stay tuned. We're going to take a look at the next photo, which is from the north again, Miyaki. I need to learn some Japanese.
This is what I asked for. This is really what I'm looking for.
Are you happy?
I'm very happy. Yeah.
All right.
So you can do it.
Mr. Tong has been telling you throughout the show, please, when you take a photograph, overexpose it so that it comes out quite bright and colorful. This is incredibly magical.
Yes, you can see the color, you can see the red, you can see the fringe as well.
All right. So if I understand correctly, Japan having different areas, of course, we seem to be getting the most photographs from the northern part of Japan. Before we look at photos sent to us by you from different parts of the world, let me ask Jessie why the photos coming in from the north of Japan are so clear and so apparent. Over to you, Jessie.
Well, there's two reasons why this is happening. First is that the cloud cover is generally better or progressively bad to good from the west to the east.
All right.
So these places in the north parts of Japan, there's no clouds to really interfere with a clear photo. And I think also this part of Japan isn't built up so much, so there's not going to be a lot of lights that are going to interfere with a clear shot. So you can see here actually where most of the photos are being taken here in this area here.
Okay.
And then if you go down, this is where we are here in the Kanto area. And then as you go down more towards the southwestern portions of Japan, that's when the cloud comes. So we haven't seen a lot of photos in this area. I think it's mostly because the cloud cover. And then, of course, as we talked about before, over Korea we have this really large shield of clouds. And this is slowly going to be pushing over towards Japan, but at this moment, for the time of the lunar eclipse, I think we're in good shape for this area. So the people in the north parts of Japan, Tohoku, and coming all the way down to Kanto, especially maybe not in Tokyo because there's so many lights that might take away from a nice photo, but just get north of the Kanto metropolitan area, up this way up through Tohoku and even up to Hokkaido, I think you're going to have some really nice views, and that's where we're seeing a lot of the nice photographs coming in.
Okay, thank you. It's quite interesting that your satellite photographs, the darker areas have the greater visibility, whereas the white areas are not so clear. That would be due to clouds, precipitation, things like that, I assume?
Yeah, it depends on the type of imagery. Some images are visible and some are infrared.
Okay.
And infrared are actually based on the temperature of the clouds. But when you take a picture infrared, it looks basically like a cloud, but it's going to give you an idea of where the clouds are, even if there's no sun to take the visible photograph. So we have that available during all portions of the day.
Wonderful. All right, so we've taken a look at photographs sent by you, our viewers residing in Japan. How about our viewers from different parts of the world? We received a photograph earlier from Taiwan, your neighbor, and we have another one coming in from Taiwan, taken at 8:13 p.m. Take a look at it, Mr. Chung, and let me know what you think.
Well, I think it's much darker than the one before. If you remember, one is overexposed with the shine, with the shadow on the reflection on the water surface as well. So I think this one that's much darker than before, and it looks interesting.
Okay. It seems to be taken from a further distance.
Yeah, it's a wide-angle image, so
all right.
It's nice.
And I would say for me, the magical part is that it's not a clear-cut circumference, but rather has a halo-like feel to it. It's more like a glow ball. And if you take a look at the bottom right-hand corner, there does seem to be a slight pinky reddish tone that's evident.
I think it's probably because of the camera, so it's slightly exposed, so therefore it's in different size.
Okay. Or it could just be the moon going through eclipse. But you're the expert. Anyway, thank you for the beautiful photograph. It's so amazing to see the moon playing off of the city lights. It's quite magical.
And maybe during the total lunar eclipse phases, you could even actually photograph the moon and the stars together.
Oh, wonderful. All right, thank you for that photograph sent to us from Taiwan. If we take a look at the chatting room, Sandra Whitley, hi there. You seem to be participating a lot today. Thank you so much. Here in the U.S., Charleston, the clouds are covering the moon. She mentioned that she sent a beautiful photo. I sent a photo using the Sunnycomb app. Beautiful cloudy sky. So let's take a look at the photograph sent by Sandra from the US of A. Do we have that photo? Oh, where's the moon?
Well, eclipsed.
Okay, so in your part of the world, there is a total eclipse. I'm joking. All right, so for our viewers, don't misunderstand. The lights at the bottom of the photograph are not, in fact, the moon. They seem to be street lamps. And thank you for that cloudy photograph. If perhaps you get a glance of the moon, do take a photo and send it in to us. Jesse, what do you think?
Well, I think, I think that it was a good try. I think that there was a couple things against her. Number one is the sun is starting to come up in that part of the world. So it's the twilight is happening. Second is that the cloud cover is not so good. She was in West Virginia, which is right around this area here. You can see there are some low clouds that are in the area, which is going to prevent her from getting a good shot of the moon, unfortunately. And more so, you can see that she's to the right side of this blue line, which means that she's not going to get a good glimpse of a real full lunar eclipse. But please keep sending your photos anyway. We'd love to see them. Even if you're in Boston on the other side, way on the other side, and you want to send some pictures of the rain that's going on through there, it looks like a strong front is passing through that area, please send them over. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Wow, our chatting room really is hot at the moment. We have a couple of messages, Terry Morris and 90 Fritopi, who ask how to get the bandana. I know, isn't it beautiful? So for all of you that are currently participating in our chat room, you're going to receive a bandana. For anybody who would like to get one, all you need to do is download our Sunnycomb application. It's an amazing application. You can tune into our daily live weather updates. We also give you wonderful lifestyle hints and tips played off of the weather. Take a look at the clock. It's 8:51. In less than 3 minutes, we're going to have our total eclipse in 2 minutes something. So Mr. Chung, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what we can expect to happen at 8:54 p.m.
So if you see now the video footage, you can see that there's still slightly brighter part of the moon now. It's there. It's still, you can see the sunlight is reflected. But after 2 minutes later, the moon was completely entered in the Earth's shadow. So it will basically dark or red, I would say red, because of the sunlight passed through the Earth's atmosphere. So you can see the moons will look like a bloody moon, as we mentioned before. So then it will enter the total lunar eclipse phases. They're exactly what we are looking for.
Okay, so within just a couple of minutes, the remaining golden bright light slice that we see in the top left-hand side of the screen, that will entirely disappear. Now, is the entire moon going to appear to be dark red, or is it going to be so dark that in fact we won't have good visibility?
Well, from the video footage, I think it's still reddish in color. Yeah,
yes.
It's not completely dark, so you will notice if you really look at it. So, but the darkest time will be the central time, so it will be around 9 o'clock. So, and then it will be the darkest time, and then it will come out again at 6 minutes past 9.
All right, so at 8:54 p.m., in less than 1 minute, we're going to have our total lunar eclipse. This is not a common occurrence. Tell us a little bit about how irregular and how special this is and how long a time it will last.
So it's very irregular, but basically it's not happening every month because the moon, the sun, and the earth is aligned in a straight line, but not every month they're really in the strict position because sometimes it's up and down because of the different of the inclination of the Earth's orbit. So
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I think it's almost. It might be some seconds more.
Could you walk us through what's happening right now?
So you can see, for example, the moon is reddish in color. It's very easy. You can observe it, especially from the bottom part, because the color difference mainly is due to which part of the Earth's shadow it belongs to. If you look at the upper part that we mentioned earlier, actually you can see that the upper part of the moon is not exactly red in color. It's slightly blue. That part is because the Earth's atmosphere, the ozone, absorbs the red color, and therefore the blue color is slightly projected on the top part of the moon, and so that you can see that.
And it's quite amazing, it's quite magical that everybody from different parts of the world right now, we're all looking at the same image of the moon. Not so?
Yes, exactly. So no matter where you're in China, you're in US, US or where you are from Australia, you're basically looking at the total lunar eclipse at the same time.
Okay.
So it's very interesting.
It's an incredible phenomenon.
Yeah, and even centuries ago, people used that to time where they are and look for the longitude information.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of this amazing phenomenon? It's now on total eclipse. As you can see, there is a slight bright light to the side, but I would think that that's more of a reflection coming off of something else.
Yes, it's going to disappear very soon. Yeah.
All right.
So it's in ancient history, we have a lot of stories about total lunar eclipse. People are very amazed because it's thought that it's very strange because usually the full moon is the most brightest part during the night. And I mean, at that time, you can imagine that people don't have electricity, so they rely on the moon for lighting.
Yes.
But so suddenly during the full moon, the moon is going out and it turned red. So it's so...
It's like a ball of beautiful fire. I know
Yeah.
in my country, if something like this, when it happens, we have a moon gazing beach ceremony, quite like stargazing. People go on dates, get their picnic together, go down to the beach or up on a mountain on a rooftop and look at the beautiful moon. Jesse, in a moment we're going to come over to you, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what the people in your part of the world do when something like this happens. We'll just wait for the eclipse to pass, and then you can let us know about moon gazing in your country. In the meantime, Mr. Chung, what do people in China and different parts of Asia do to celebrate such a total eclipse?
So total eclipse people will actually in ancient time it's not a good thing.
Oh no!
It's bad fortune. So the emperors they will bring them bad luck and something.
Okay.
So people will ring the bell and something to frighten away the
Oh dear.
yeah, and they hope they will stop.
Okay, so historically, total lunar eclipse has not always carried with it positive connotations. However, it's beautiful, and we do wish you all the best of luck. Let's go over to Jesse, where you can tell us a little bit about how Americans celebrate and sort of appreciate a special moment like tonight.
Sure. I think that basically America is a strange country because it's such a collection of different cultures. So I can only speak about what I grew up with. I grew up on an area called Cape Cod, which is basically lots of beaches and lots of really nice dark areas by the beach and during nighttime. So what I would do would be to walk down with my friends down to a beach somewhere and just sit down and stare up at the sky, maybe bring some music and just relax for a few minutes while staring up at the stars. It's very simple and but a very effective, very nice way to spend an hour outside.
Fantastic. So as the years have passed, I think many of us celebrate a total eclipse as opposed to what is historically known to be a little bit of a scary bad luck phenomenon. Let's take a look at our chatting room. We have some amazing comments. Thank you to Terry Morris. He says, great shot. Thank you. We have Mia Fatima saying, fantastic. And like we chatted about just a little bit before, N. Camo says, we share the same image of the moon at this time. It's quite amazing to think people in Asia, Africa, Europe, the Americas, we're all looking at the same total eclipse. Incredible. Now, how long is this going to last?
Well, actually, it's very short. According to my calculation, it's only 12 minutes. Sorry, it's 12 minutes. So it's almost going to the central point, which is the maximum. So it's reached the maximum very soon, and then you will see the moon now. Still, you can see the left part is a little bit brighter.
Yes.
But it will very soon it will change in another direction.
Yes.
Then you will notice that the other part will become brighter.
All right, so like you mentioned, there seem to be some shadows and some bright. Kaukiatu says, yeah, the shadows are bright. Kazuaki Seki says, not only strange, but also fantastic. Indeed, fantastic. So thank you for sharing this beautiful total eclipse moment with us. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we'll fill you in on what's going to happen at exactly 9 p.m. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We hope that you really enjoyed our amazing visual. We're lucky to be here in Tokyo, Japan, reporting to you all over the world live. We've managed to capture quite a clear, gorgeous visual. So we got to experience the total lunar eclipse together. How amazing. A big thank you to Jesse, who is our fantastic meteorologist, and we now welcome him here into the studio. How are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. This was a really fun exercise for me. I've done forecasts of all types in my experience as a meteorologist, but this is the first time I've done something, a weather report expressly for a lunar eclipse.
Wow, well thank you, because you were both informative as well as fun. How did you feel watching the eclipse become total, full?
Well, I think that the interesting thing is knowing that all the people that are watching this program are all watching the exact same thing at the same time. So it's kind of a unifying symbol for everybody all around the world, or not all around the world, but over the places we described. So
yes.
From China all the way to the United States, everybody's looking at the same events
yes.
happening before them in real time, not on TV, but actually really happening to them.
I know that is quite incredible. And for those of you who were not able to view it with your own eyes, luckily you tuned into our show. If you take a look at the talk room, Tegra Storm says, what a shame how people from all over the world, at least the places with partial and full visibility, it's just the Japanese and a few exceptions that appreciate this. I don't agree. I think what's happened is, being in Japan, we have an audience that are participating quite eagerly, whereas with other parts of the world you need to download our Sunnycomb application, or you can watch our show again tomorrow on YouTube. I'll give you more information about that later. But I do think it's a wonderful event that historically brings people from all over the world together. It's really like unification. How do you feel about this, Mr. Chung?
Well, as Jesse has mentioned, it's really interesting that the fact that the people know that lunar eclipse happens everywhere at the same time, even when they're at different locations. So back in the time, the people can't identify their physical location, like longitude, when they are unable to define where are they on the Earth exactly. So what they use to try to figure out the exact location is try to use the lunar eclipse to time. To time and the lunar eclipse to exactly to define where they are.
Okay.
So this is historically very interesting.
It is very interesting, and it's amazing that over time the negative connotations attached to a lunar eclipse have slowly become more positive. However, we still hold quite dear the original values, like you mentioned, where people used it as an almost compass, a time to
Yes.
sort of root themselves.
Right. It's very interesting.
Quite interesting. So we have a couple more reports coming in from our Japanese viewers. Let's take a look at the first report from Kumamoto in the west. Taken at 8:55.
It's red.
It's
Nice.
very red.
Yeah,
How do you
it's
guys
red.
feel looking at that?
I like this moon. Yeah, it's very. It shows that the moon is totally entered into the Earth's shadow. It's really nice.
I think it's pretty amazing that it was captured so well, because the time of the total lunar eclipse is not a lot.
Yes, right.
I think it's interesting because if you see how red, and it almost looks fiery or angry. So if you can imagine hundreds of years ago, without the background or the understanding science-wise of what's going on, it would kind of be intuitive or understandable for you to think that people back then thought this was a problem, like something was wrong. You know, the God is angry, or our crops are going to fail, or something like that. Yeah.
As you mentioned before, it could bring bad luck. I do know in some countries, such as my own country, South Africa, when there is a full moon or a total lunar eclipse, animals tend to react quite sensitively to these certain weather conditions. It's interesting to think that centuries ago people were just the same, but as we have gained knowledge of the weather, the geography, the meteorology behind it, we have a better sense and a deeper appreciation for such a beautiful, quite rare occurrence. However, animals still seem to feed off of that almost fiery red energy.
Right, correct.
So, shall we take a look at the chatting room again? Glad I woke up this early to see this. Well, you must be in another country, Mr. 90 Fritopi, because we are...
It's Frito pie.
Frito pie, okay. Thank you, American.
Yeah,
Yes.
What is Frito pie?
I think that's something that's eaten in Texas or Oklahoma, or it's a kind of snack, or not a snack. It's like a something,
pie.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but yeah, it's kind of a yummy snack.
Okay.
With Fritos.
Frito pie. I apologize. I haven't spent much time in America, but not fritopi, Frito pie. So right now in America, people are waking up
Yes.
and experiencing this. This is quite amazing.
Right.
Well, right here in Japan, we're heading towards 9:20 p.m. We'll be tuning out at 9:25. So for those of you who would like to win a beautiful cherry blossom colored bandana, please do be sure to download our Sunnycone application. You can send us any comments, any questions. If you have any photographs that you managed to take tonight, be sure to send them in to us, as we are going to be constantly uploading and sharing these beautiful images with you from all over the world. Mr. Chung, when can we next expect to see some moon action?
So the next one will probably around late September. So it's happening in the east coast of America and also the west coast of Europe.
Fantastic. So for anybody in America or Europe who was not able to see some of the total lunar eclipse, you just wait a little bit and you will have front row seats in a few months. Without further ado, let's take a look at what might be our last report from the evening. I understand that it's sent to us from Taiwan. If we could take a look at that report. Okay, ni hao, and it was taken at 1 minute after 9, 17 minutes ago.
So it's during the total, the maximum, yeah. So it's really, you can see that it's really full. The full moon is red in color and it's almost blocked, but you can still see like some relative brightness that's still at the edge.
Well, thank you, Chris. Jesse, taking a look at the photo, is there anything you could tell us just from looking at the photo, anything about the weather conditions in Taiwan that they managed to take this particular snap?
I think the weather was fine for that photo. I think that the camera probably was zoomed a little bit, so if there was any clouds, it would have made the sphere look almost unrecognizable. But the fact that there is, you can see where the moon is, and the fact that you can see where the light's poking out on the northwest corner. I think it was probably a fine place to take a photo for it.
Yes, we're really grateful for all you, our viewers, our reporters, who have sent us more than 10 to 15 shots of this wonderful lunar eclipse procedure. It's been amazing to see step by step how it changes. Before we tune out, let me just inform all of you that are watching, if you happen to have missed a shot or you thought it was so amazing that you would love to check it out again, don't fear. Tonight we're going to edit all the footage we've received tonight, and we're going to make a video which will be posted onto our site. That means tomorrow you can log on and check out the total lunar eclipse from start to finish in a kind of animated, almost cookie cutter video. So anybody who might have missed a shot, don't fear. We have more for you tomorrow, but you do need to download the Sunnycone application. We've got 5 minutes until closing. Any last thoughts, Jesse?
Well, I think that I'm sad that I won't have a chance to do this again, or maybe I will have a chance to do this again. I'm not sure, but because these things don't happen so often. But it's been very interesting to hear the perspective of someone that really knows what they're talking about, and then having. Being able to provide what little I can from my side, I thought it was a really interesting experience.
Someone who knows what they're really talking about, that's you, Mr. Chang. Actually, today you have both been incredibly informative. I have to admit that I'm more of the question type. I came in not knowing much, and I feel within a couple of hours I've learned so much about the history, the mechanics of the total lunar eclipse, the coloring, as well as the weather. Any last thoughts, Mr. Chung?
Well, I think it's also very great time to share this exciting moment with many people around the world. Just one more addition about the history of lunar eclipse.
Yes, please.
It's actually some people. It's in thousands of years ago. Basically, they noticed that the lunar eclipse, the shadow, is round. And they link that with the Earth's shadow at that time, and they noticed even thousands of years ago the Earth is round just because they look at the lunar eclipse, and they noticed that shadow, the round shape, is the Earth's shadow, and they deduce that the Earth is round.
Wow! So the moon is quite telling.
That's the ancient Greek. They are so clever. And we are able to know that the Earth is round thousands of years ago.
All right, and I'm sure many countries disagreed with them at first and felt, no, the Earth is flat. But as we've become more educated, I don't think there are many people left that would say the Earth is not round. So we have a lot to be thankful for. According to the moon, many people have learned a variety of things.
Yes, now we are modern ages. We have many instruments, we have spacecraft, we have satellites going to the moon, and a lot of missions, so we understand many things now.
All right. If we take a last look at our chat room, Choco says, it seems almost impossible to watch the moon in Tokyo. Thanks for sharing this eclipse shots. Actually, we're quite lucky to have had this show, so for many of you that might be in an area with high-rise buildings, clouds, precipitation, as you mentioned earlier, the weather is quite important with regards to whether people might see it or not. Any last thoughts about that?
Well, I think that like you said, it really depends on the cloud cover, but it depends on the types of clouds. Some clouds are high and thin, so you probably can be able to see them through them clearly.
Yes.
Really thick clouds, like ones producing rain, of course, that's going to be much different. So I think that it's not only the amount of cloud cover, but it's the the types of clouds, and then to pile onto that, there's also sometimes several different layers of clouds, which we call cloud decks.
Okay.
So sometimes the odds are stacked against you.
Oh dear.
Sometimes it's quite easy. So I think Kanto region, the biggest issue with getting a good view of the eclipse here was just the lights. We're in a huge city here.
Developed.
And, so these lights are going to make it difficult to get a nice pristine view of the moon, I think.
Luckily, we received some fantastic photos from you, our viewers, up in the north and central parts of Japan. We'd like to take just the last couple of seconds to thank you so much for participating in our show. Thank you to all the chatters for your interesting questions, your fun comments, and a huge thank you for the amazing photographs. We have so enjoyed participating with you. If you have downloaded our Sunnycone application, you'll know how amazing it is. Please spread the word to your friends and family, and you can win yourself a bandana. So, from me, Bronwyn,
Silang,
Jesse,
we bid you good night.
good night.
Right.
必要なかったです。
全然線咲いてないけど。
ちょっと